held in accordance with the public laws of 1975, Chapter 231, and adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by a notice sent via Asbury Park Press, Two River Times, the Star Ledger, and posted in the main lobby of the municipal building and on the municipal website. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Couple of things I want to just talk about. I forgot to bring this up at the last council meeting. Freddie Boynton pointed out to me. Mayor Mena's father passed away a couple weeks ago. And while we were at the funeral, I just wanted to take have a moment of silence in honor of Ennio Mena. And before we do that, also chaos happening in the Middle East. It's awful, awful, awful what's happening there. Speaking for myself, standing very strong with Israel, the atrocities that are committed over there are just awful to contemplate. So while we're having a moment of silence for Ennio Mena, let's also have a moment of silence for the suffering that's happening in the Middle East. Thank you. We have a couple of proclamations. What's that?
Roll call.
Oh, roll call. Yeah, I'm jumping right to it.
Mayor Portman,
Here.
Councilmember Bonatakis. Here. Councilmember Cassidy,
Present.
Councilmember Facey Blackwood. Present. Councilmember Forrest,
Present.
Councilmember Janone,
Present.
and Councilmember Trigiano. Here. Present.
Okay, our first proclamation we have is for Italian American Heritage Month. Whereas, as we forge new futures as a unified people, we must celebrate the unique and vibrant cultures that have written the American story. Many determined individuals have sought our shores as a beacon of hope and opportunity, and their spirit of limitless possibility and example of resolve continues to inspire and guide our nation. And whereas, upon arrival in the United States, the Italian American community faced racial, social, and religious discrimination. Yet Italian Americans have persevered with hope and hard work to reach for the American dream and help build our great country. As proud service members, they have also defended the liberty and integrity of the United States since the Revolutionary War. And whereas today, the legacy of these intrepid immigrants is found in the millions of American men, women, and children of Italian descent who strengthen and enrich our country. Italian Americans operate thriving businesses, teach our children, serve at all levels of government, and succeed in a myriad occupations, drawing on the courage and principles of their forebears. And whereas generations of Italian Americans have helped shape our society and steer the course of our history, bound by enduring values of faith and family, Italian Americans have flourished in all areas of our public and economic life while preserving their proud Italian traditions. And now, therefore, I, William Portman, do hereby proclaim the month of October 2023 as Italian American Heritage Month.
I'm coming up now.
See to the rest.
Hey. What I got?
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Anthony, Anthony Sataros here. I just wanted to give you a recognition and shout out. Thank you for all the history that you've personally shared with me about the history of Red Bank as a whole, about all the different immigrant waves and populations. I've learned so much from you about the history of this town, and I know how dedicated you are to honoring that history. So I just wanted to say thank you so much for sharing all of that with me. I really learned a lot from you, and it's made me even prouder of Red Bank. So thank you for sharing that with me. and your family history and everything. If anybody's ever interested in any of that, I'm sure Anthony would love to talk to you for a minimum of an hour.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, next up, it is First Responder Day. Whereas individuals, both career and volunteer from public safety dispatchers, law enforcement, fire, emergency medical services, emergency management, National Guard, transportation, search and rescue, dive, and other organizations in the public safety sector come together as first responders to protect and aid the public in the event of an emergency. And whereas first responders risk their own safety in the performance of their duties to protect our citizens and are our first and best defense against all emergencies that threaten our communities. And whereas the borough wishes to recognize our first responders and what they represent. Whereas the thin blue line stands for law enforcement's separation of order from chaos or maintaining order enduring unrest. It has become a symbol of that line we must stand fast and hold on to in order to protect each other from harm's way. Standing shoulder to shoulder on this line, we demonstrate the commitments of all those who we protect from those that may want to inflict harm. The thin blue line describes law enforcement officers in essence as the sheepdogs. The sheepdogs live to protect the flock and confront the wolves. And whereas the thin red line is a symbol used by fire departments to show respect for firefighters injured and killed in the line of duty. As firefighters are periled, they place their lives second to those they protect. They are forced to face their own fears and grasp for every ounce of courage to perform the necessary tasks. The thin red line of courage represents the last ounce of courage firefighters find deep in their blood to conquer their darkest fears in order to save and protect life and property. And whereas the thin white line represents EMS, this line of hope honors all those members of emergency medical services teams, whether career or volunteer, that provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The emergency medical service system consists of first responders, emergency medical technicians, paramedics, emergency medical dispatchers, firefighters, police officers, educators, administrators, pre-hospital nurses, emergency physicians, trained members of the public, and other out-of-hospital medical care providers. And whereas the thin gold line represents dispatchers. These are the unsung heroes of public safety. Dispatchers are the behind-the-scene players who ensure the safety of our men and women in blue, call out the response for fire and emergency medical response. They are the bridge that connects people in need to the help, care, and protection they need in the most challenging moments. They are that kind of voice in the middle of the night during an emergency call. They are the key that unlocks every emergency service in the country, but few know who they are. Few know who they are. And whereas the members of first responder organizations undergo significant education, training, and personal sacrifice in order to achieve the expertise required to respond to emergency situations for the public good and often for no pay. And whereas the Borough of Red Bank thanks each and every first responder for their incredible and selfless contributions. Now, therefore, I, William Portman, Mayor of the Borough of Red Bank, County of Monmouth, State of New Jersey, do hereby proclaim Saturday, October 28th, 2023, be known and celebrated as First Responder Day in the Borough of Red Bank, and do urge and encourage all residents to join in recognizing and honoring those who have safeguarded our community in the past and those who willingly carry on the tradition today.
Yay.
Just a couple representatives here accepting for EMS. We have EMS Manager Ed Murawski, for dispatch Ryan Hussey, for the PD Chief McConnell, and for the Fire Department Chief Hartman, Council members Trigiano and Cassidy.
Crazy, why don't you come up here too?
We have Chief Woods here, it appears and stuff.
I think did I get it? Or no?
Chief Frank's here too? All right, great. Oh, yeah, we'll get everybody.
Yeah, what pictures?
Sure, come on down. You can do these one at a time. I think I'll read it. Maybe we'll do, we can get everybody.
Thank you.
I'll give you one of these. And
Oh, that's nice.
you have one more from, one for dispatch.
Oh, we can do that too. You know what? Let's get do we have, yeah, come on up. There we go.
There we go. Let's get a picture with everybody then.
Them without.
God, you can slide it.
No, he does right now.
them first.
That's it.
Each team here.
Okay. Here you go.
Next 5 pound. I'd like to get one. I know we have, like, can we bring up all the dispatchers first? We have more dispatchers here.
No
Oh,
pressure.
that's all right. No, we have enough dispatchers.
We're gonna do a group with each of the
Yeah,
first
let's just
response
get a
organizations that are here.
Alright. So. All right, there we go. Thank you. GMS crew, come on down. All these. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Come on in. Look around, face that way.
You don't have to, Mike.
Thanks, y'all.
I guess we got our fire department folks up.
Come on, Mike.
We have more.
Dave,
Dave, Frank, come on back.
come on, Mike, you're.
You're in the middle of.
Jimmy, come on. Let's take one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Flopping around. Graceful.
Here's some private.
Another one. All right, yeah, I got.
Sorry. Coming, Ben's coming. Thank you, Ben.
And. All right.
See how long you can stand.
Yeah.
Are terrible.
All right. Thank you very much.
More mayor?
That's it.
Thanks, Scott. Your support.
Of course, always improved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, and it looks wonderful. Thank you.
Good to see you, buddy.
Thank you.
Of course, always.
All right. Next up, we have public comments on agenda items only. Public comment on agenda items only.
Suzanne Visconti, 25 Cedar Street. Good evening. First comment is on the NP 2023-12 plan and development regarding the fees and the fees. Number one, in one of the clauses, it says that you have to put a tree in between the, if I'm reading it correctly, that path between the sidewalk and the street. Wouldn't it be contradict to what the conversation was last week, because the trees grew so much, they were taking away trees that were between the sidewalk and the street. So I just didn't know if that's true, why would we want to put trees in if we're just gonna have to take them out? Number one. Number two, with this new, or with this updated ruling, does this also affect, for example, the owners of 50 Locust LLC? There was a bunch of trees that were taken down back in the spring, like at least 5, if not more, which I do have pictures of. So I'm just questioning, is this an example where a owner took down trees and did the town, if so, did the town recoup any money for cutting down a bunch of trees?
So just give me 1 second to.
This doesn't. Like 5 minutes, right?
So this ordinance really applies both to your first question to the planting strip out front. That's if the tree is removed from the planting strip, it's put back in an appropriate location in the planting strip and an appropriate tree. In most cases, the trees were taken down, were not appropriate when they were put in 30, 40, 50 years ago. Now the Shade Tree Commission and our tree expert weigh in on what trees to put there, and then we put trees that should never outgrow their space or not within a lifetime anyway. So they wouldn't have to be taken down again anytime soon. The second part of your question, these are for developers who are like developing a property and taking down trees as part of that development, and they have to replace them. It's not a homeowner or a property owner who takes down a tree that's on their property for whatever reason, just as regular maintenance or changing their landscape. So they wouldn't have to put a
Oh, yeah, I just want to make sure because, I mean, it's a shame, there was a bunch of trees taken down at 50 Lucas LLC. My next question is. The amendment for NP 2023-16. Because we adopted a new form of government. I'll start with number 1. Ben, you recall being on the school board and being on the library board, the superintendent needs the report and the library director also needs the report. Because it looks like the power is switching mostly to the new business administrator, currently you and whoever in the future. Would an opportunity for you guys, for the person sitting in your seat, chief, to give a report, because you'll have so much power of the coming and going to have some real transparency.
No, once this is formally in place, then that would be the procedure. Whoever the manager is would be giving a report as required by the ordinance. It's just that right now we've had that 90-day flux of going from department head reports to this new form.
Okay.
We can answer your question in short, yes.
Also on the same document here. So if you read the details, they list some of the committees there, and some of them have different requirements for being removed. For one committee will be removed, you miss 3 consecutive meetings. Another requirement would be at the recommendation of the board for cause. I was just wondering, can you give an example of cause? And why wouldn't we have continuities across the committees? Like even the Animal Welfare Committee is one of the committees that has no recommendation on removal of an person. So I'm just wondering why there was no continuity, number 1. And number 2, the same thing. You know, we just spoke about transparency a lot. And in the last couple of meetings, we talked about, and Mr. Hill did too, about having minutes from the committees. They're already codifying a annual report from the community, the old Human Relations Committee, an annual report yearly. So you do have codified reports that need to be maintained. Wouldn't it be kind of smart to codify the fact that minutes need to be received and agendas be put out so everyone's clear of the requirements and duties? Number 1, and number 2, there's other requirements that we talked about, for example, getting on the committees. You know, the mayor, you mentioned in a few articles how you thought filling in applications were great and it worked well. On the flip side, after looking at the numbers, less than 50% of the people applied actually got appointed. And then another council member said, well, it wasn't required. So this is an opportunity to make that requirement. So I was wondering if there was any conversation on that.
Mayor, may I?
Yeah, sure.
Sure. Okay, so the purpose of this ordinance, as it was created by Mike Collins, was essentially to get, to change, essentially do a big change from borough to council manager. When it came down to the committees and how they operate and such, which is still listed in the administrative code, he did not get into that. He just looked for where there was borough and put council manager. So that's essentially what had happened. So, I mean, it doesn't preclude the council in future ordinances to make modifications as needed. Am I correct? I'm looking to the attorney. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Anything else?
No, that's.
Okay.
Oh, then I'm glad I just brought it up to you guys' attention because it doesn't seem like there's really a lot of continuity. And if you are revamping everything for starting fresh, it'd be a great opportunity to implement some of these ideas, so everyone's on the same page and it's clear. So. That's all, thank you.
It's up to
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening, Cindy Burnham, 71 Wallace Street. I was looking at the introduction of NP 2023-17. And while I think it's great that, you're doing something about abandoned and inoperable vehicles, I just wanted to bring your attention to an ordinance that we already have, which is 490-50, storage of commercial vehicles. And they're really short. I'm just gonna read it really quick. No commercial motor vehicle having a rated maximum gross vehicle weight in excess of 10,000 pounds or having more than 2 axles shall be parked or stored overnight on any occupied property which is primarily used for residential purposes or on any vacant property in a residentially zoned area. The other one is no more than 1 motor vehicle with commercial motor vehicle registration having a rated maximum gross vehicle weight of 10,000 pounds or less shall be parked or stored overnight on any occupied property which is primarily used for residential purposes or on any vacant property in a residentially zoned area. So, I mean, it kind of seems like the same thing. Is this something new that you're bringing forward? This NP ordinance?
The ordinance you're quoting is a land use or zoning ordinance. It involves private property, not public property. So it doesn't apply to roadways.
Oh, it doesn't apply, but it says.
It's occupied properties or vacant properties.
Occupied properties, occupied
Residential.
properties
That's not a public roadway.
in residentially zoned areas.
No, it's all one, it's all together. It's on property in a residential area.
Well,
Even the code that it's in is not a traffic or parking enforcement code. It's in the property code.
well, then I think that you should add something about parking commercial vehicles on residential streets. If you could put that in.
The council's working on
Yeah,
that.
we figured we were gonna do this in steps. We knew that the quickest thing that we could get up there was the trailer one. There's been a lot of complaints about unhitched trailers. There was language already, an ordinance already that just the language wasn't clear enough. So we're attempting to clarify that language. And then, yes, next up on the table is some kind of commercial vehicle ordinance. Not sure exactly
We
what that
really
is.
need
Yeah.
that, because our streets are being overrun with landscaping businesses. I also have another question about resolution NP 23-85, which has to do with the senior center. These payments, what are these payments for?
They're just the final 2 payments of the project. They were,
And then we're done?
then we're done. They were actually submitted back in August, but there was some changeover at the architect firm and it never got to us to submit them. So we're paying them now.
And what happens have you done a walkthrough?
I've been there a few times, yes.
Have you noticed the condition outside around the patio and the quality of work? It's almost a joke. It goes like this.
I'm not sure they did any patio work with them.
No, they did the roof.
Oh, you said the patio.
No, it's in the back. It's the eaves or whatever you call it. I mean, it's really bad. We don't have to pay to have them come back and fix something, do we?
I have to look at what it is. I can't really say that sitting here in this room.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Public comment on agenda items only. Anyone online?
No, sir.
Okay,
Motion.
I have a motion to close the public comment.
I make such a motion.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we have minutes from 9/28/2023. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
I have a second?
Second.
Victor, roll call. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, and then we have the minutes from 9/28/23, our executive session. Can I have a motion to approve these minutes?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, next up are some ordinances. First up is the hearing and adoption for NP 2023-11, amending and supplementing chapter 490, planning and development regulations relating to the height requirements in the waterfront development zone. Can I have a motion to open the floor for public hearing on this ordinance only?
So moved.
Have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone have any comments or thoughts on this ordinance from the public? I have a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I have a motion to adopt ordinance NP 2023-11.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please, Laura.
Councilmember Bonatakis?
Yes.
Councilmember Cassidy?
Yes.
Councilmember Facey Blackwood? Yes. Councilmember Forrest?
Yes.
Councilmember Janone?
Yes.
Councilmember Triano?
Yes.
And Mayor Portman.
Yes, thank you. Next up. Hearing and adoption for NP 2023-12, amending chapter 490, planning and development regulations, and chapter 665, trees, to increase developer shade tree fees and to permit the use of shade tree trust funds to maintain existing shade trees within the borough. I have a motion to open the floor for public hearing on this ordinance only.
Make a motion.
Have a second?
Second.
On favor?
Aye.
Anyone have any comments from the public on this ordinance? No, no online. Have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to adopt ordinance NP 2023-12. Have a motion?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Your motion.
Councilmember Bonatakis?
Yes.
Councilmember Cassidy?
Yes.
Councilmember Facey Blackwood? Yes. Councilmember Forrest?
Yes.
Councilmember Janone?
Yes.
Councilmember Triano?
Yes.
And Mayor Portman.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Next up is hearing and adoption for NP 2023-16, ordinance amending administrative code to implement the voter adopted council manager form of government pursuant to the requirements of the Faulkner Act at NJSA 4069A-207C. Can I have a motion to open the floor for public hearing on this ordinance only?
I'll make such a motion.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any comments from the public on this ordinance? No? No online? All right, have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make such a motion.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Can I have a motion to adopt ordinance NP 2023-16?
Moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Bonatakis?
Yes.
Councilmember Cassidy?
Yes.
Councilmember Facey Blackwood?
Yes.
Councilmember Forrest?
Yes.
Councilmember Janone?
Yes.
Councilmember Triano?
Yes.
And Mayor Portman.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Next up is the introduction of NP 2023-17. Amending and supplementing chapter 675-1. Can I have a motion to introduce?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
We have a roll call, please.
Councilmember Bonatakis?
Yes.
Councilmember Cassidy?
Yes.
Councilmember Facey Blackwood?
Yes.
Councilmember Forrest?
Yes.
Councilmember Janone?
Yes.
Councilmember Triano?
Yes.
Mayor Portman.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. There'll be a public hearing on this ordinance on October 26th.
Excellent.
Next up, we have resolutions. If everyone's okay with it, we can adopt them on the consent agenda.
I just wanted to clarify, it says appoint firefighter RBFD. That's Rochelle Varela, West Side Hose,
Where is that one?
Last one.
NP 23-97.
Gotcha.
Oh, you can.
All right.
Roll call.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve resolutions NP 23-83 through NP 23-97?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please, Linda.
Councilmember Bonatakis,
Yes.
Councilmember Cassidy,
Yes.
Councilmember Facey Blackwood,
Yes.
Councilmember Forrest,
Yes.
Councilmember Janone,
Yes.
Councilmember Trujillo,
Yes.
Mayor Portman.
Yes,
Three cannabis. Let's go.
all right, we don't have any discussion or action items, so we'll start with the mayor and council comments. Start down with you, Christina. What?
Sure, I'm happy to
Yeah.
start. I just want to thank my fellow council members who were also members of the Charter Study Commission, on a job well done seeing this through. This was a long road. And finally with the approval of the ordinance and the change, congratulations. Not for the faint of heart, changing your form of government in the borough. So I just want to thank you and honor the work that you and the rest of the Charter Study did for us.
Thank you, Christine. First, Housing Authority next Wednesday is presenting its 5-year plan. There will be a public meeting. It's posted, the notice is posted on the Housing Authority website. Fire department, last night I was out at the county fire academy with members of the Hook and Ladder, and I just want to acknowledge the volunteers of the department that I get to work with out there on a Wednesday night, a work night, training on behalf. It was a heck of a drill. It was a lot of fun. Don't get me wrong. You don't have to twist my arm too hard to do those sorts of things, but I was very impressed with many of our residents who came out and did that. I have a personal statement that I need to read. I feel compelled to, and my council colleagues are not aware that I plan to do this. But I'm going to. It's election season. Recently, my home has been inundated with ads regarding LGBTQ rights, and particularly the rights of transgender youth. Neighboring towns are taking actions in the name of parents' rights that have sought to create political gain by further marginalizing susceptible populations in our communities. First, I am proud of Red Bank's record of inclusivity and how our schools support our LGBTQ youth, as well as the parents of those youth. I want to say clearly, nowhere in this county, in this country, is there a policy that stops a parent from communicating with a child, nor a child communicating with a parent. Unfortunately, there are children who are susceptible to violence and discrimination and live in fear. They need safe spaces. They deserve safe spaces. New Jersey, and I'm proud of the actions of our governor in this regard, has supported such safe spaces. Children deserve safety, not to be exploited for political gain. Again, the creation of safe spaces does not stop any child from communicating with a parent. It does not intrude upon the sanctity of the home or the parent-child relationship within that home. What it does succeed is recognizing that minors do have civil rights and they need places to access those rights if their home is not a place they are able to. And I apologize for my emotions. The notion that parents are being trampled or violated is misdirection and misinformation. This body in September recognized Suicide Awareness and Prevention Month, and here is fact. The Trevor Project notes that suicide is the second leading cause of all youth aged 10 to 24. LGBTQ youth are 4 times more likely to attempt suicide. Our federal government through youth.gov states that nearly half of LGBTQ youth report wanting counseling from a mental health professional, and I stand that we should make health access universal. Further, LGBTQ youth who had access to spaces that affirm their sexual orientation and gender identity reported lower rates of attempting suicide. These rates are due to a constant state of threat, fear, and hate. These kids don't need adults to make them political pawns and feel any less safe than they already do. They need support and access to the assistance they desire, not political ads that make them feel like political pieces that they have no interest in playing in the game of. Simply stated, the LGBTQ youth of the Red Bank have my love and support. Children, especially those of susceptible population, should not be made to feel less than others for political points. Parents of these children should not be bludgeoned by misrepresentations into a state of fear. And I reflected upon what I see happening around us, and I'm reminded of why I'm so damn proud to be a member of the Red Bank community, because we stand for these kids.
Thank you.
Hear ye.
Nancy? Back to follow.
I know. Well stated, Dave. I don't really have much to report. Shade Tree meets next Tuesday. Environmental Commission had their meeting. And they may be looking to change their location because meeting with the Green Team has grown the group to quite a bit. Also be on the lookout for members of the EC and Green Team contacting people within the borough regarding Sustainable Jersey actions. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Ben?
We're in my council liaison to the schools hat. We have a new vice principal, Mr. Doherty, over at the middle school. So that's a big report from Superintendent Jared Rummage. You also have a more detailed report probably in your emails. I wanted to also give a report. We had a Parks and Rec meeting here. Lean more in. Okay. We had a Parks and Rec meeting here a couple weeks ago. Halloween movie night is scheduled for October 13th, Ghostbusters, the classic 1984 version. Welcome to Boo Bank, Trail of Fright from Broad to White, 75th anniversary Halloween parade is around the corner, and you can still sign up for your float. Go to our website, and we want to thank the Red Bank Fire Department for all the volunteers and sponsoring and their float this year, I believe. Rain date is October 29th, and hopefully we won't need a rain date, which is, I guess it's next week on the 22nd, getting close. Let's see, couple of things that we talked about in the meeting here that was kind of interesting. We would actually like there was brainstorming, I'd like to change the Parks and Rec department really to the name Recreation Department. So there's a fair amount of confusion. People call or contact us thinking that we do maintenance on the parks, and that would probably be nice going forward, where was this really, because the focus of the department really is recreation. Let's see, also at Camp Basie Park, we've been brainstorming on doing some improvements in our experience over there with our various programs. Speaking to Acting Administrator McConnell about that at this meeting. And the other thing is that we're struggling with so many events. Over the years, the Recreation Department has gotten more and more events. I think we added 2 or 3 just last year. So that's an ongoing challenge with the current stuff we have. And so if anybody has any bright ideas on that, please let us know. That's my report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Ben. Laura?
We had an animal welfare committee meeting, and we're writing a new strategic plan. We're also, I reached out to superintendent in our town because we were probably going to have an adoption, dog adoption day in the spring, and he said we could use probably the Red Bank Primary School to give us permission to use that. We have a library meeting this Thursday. We had 3 meetings with the Cannabis Committee, 2 with the committee, and then 1 hearing, and that brought this resolution today. And that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Kate?
Thank you. First, I want to thank Councilman Cassidy for his words. It's also the week of National Coming Out Day. I've been out over half my life. Since I was 17, I've been out as bisexual, and it's true. You do need those safe spaces, and you need to know that people support you and trust you. So somewhere out there, you just really helped somebody by what you did, and I really admire your bravery and your leadership, and you show that in all different ways through public safety, public service, and by being a really brave ally. So thank you. I really appreciate it. It was also International Day of the Girl this week, and I think that says it all for itself. So thank the women in your life. We're about to be going into the colder months. I've served on the Code Blue Committee in town that serves this men's warming center and coordinates all of the services in town. We're going to be meeting on the 26th. There's also a women's warming center that'll be opening in Red Bank. It is congregant led, and that is by First Baptist Church on Maple Avenue. So I want to thank them for that new service they'll be providing the community. It's named the Heartwarming Center. And I'm sure that that will also be coming up in our upcoming COBU meeting. So really proud to live in a place that leads with empathy and heart. And I'm really glad that we have congregations that step up to partner with the county OEM to provide these needed services. And that's basically it. I think that's enough.
Thank you. Walking the dog this morning, I noticed Eastside Park is probably would have been done already if we didn't have all this rain.
Yeah.
Both the basketball court, the tennis courts are blacktop, and so I guess they're just painting and putting up nets next, right?
The actual chain link, yeah.
And the chain link has to go around the fence, so that's exciting. And I think we finished the boardwalk down at Riverside.
We did, with the exception of the benches that are back ordered a couple more weeks, but everything else is done.
Okay, so we're chipping away at it, guys. Yeah, that's all I have to add.
The boardwalk looks beautiful at
Yeah.
Riverside Gardens Park. It made me really proud to go down there. It's a nice thing to see.
Nice. Like to open up the floor for public questions and comments for anything on your mind.
Is there a motion?
Make such a motion.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Anyone have anything that they want to address? Yes. What's that? She's just coming to sit down, I believe. You're on.
Is the cannabis communities that you mentioned, Councilwoman Janone, are they open to the public?
No.
Not okay. Okay, interesting. So I actually went to the Environmental Commission meeting this last one, which was very interesting. They're definitely hardworking and they do a lot. They put a lot of effort in the grants, so I commend your group, Nancy, for doing that. My question is, you brought up the charging stations, and originally a grant was given to put solar panels on I guess the building where they sell the snacks at the park. But because it was too expensive to do that project, you guys changed your plan to spend that matching grant into infrastructure of the electric car meters, like the one we have outside here that's been here for numerous years. And my question really is, would you share your responsibility? Because in the meeting, you stated that at one point, you said, we're starting to make a profit, and at the end of the meeting, you said, we don't know if we're making money or not, and I'm not quoting you on, but to that point, because you're able to quantify your gross revenue, but the way the electricity is running this building, I guess, is feeding into that machine, that you're unable to quantify if we're making a profit or not. And you guys have great initiatives to possibly add more around town, obviously, if you're gonna put the infrastructure in. So I was wondering, how can we really find out, or if there's any start to find out if we are or we're not making money? And obviously rates change, you gotta make sure that we're not losing money, I would think. I mean, it's not, any shortfall shouldn't go on the backbone of our taxes.
I'll answer part of it and then I'll defer to the chief. I was referring to information that I was given by the prior DPW instructor when we were providing this information to Update Sustainable Jersey, and another town wanted similar information. And what I was cautioned is, while our gross revenues on parking for the electric charging stations are there and the money is showing, what we have not deducted from that is the cost of the electricity for those stations. And it's just the way that it is metered. And that's where I look at the chief. Okay.
That's essentially correct. It is correct. But we are making a profit. It's just a little bit difficult to determine exactly what that is. The income from them is growing each year, as is the use of electric vehicles growing each year. The problem, particularly with this one out front, is that it's not on its own meter by itself. There's other things running off of that meter. So to try to divide it up to know exactly what that station is using would be an estimate, or probably a good estimate, but still an estimate. The others aren't that way. At least I don't believe so. I think they're metered individually, but this one is not.
What's the protocol? Obviously, rates go up. You know, all our electric bills are going up. What is the protocol of changing that rate? Is it once a year, or do you check it and update it as you go, or you have to vote on it to change the rate for the meter?
I believe you would still have to vote on it to change the rates as we would with any other ordinance, but it's been a discussion internally, myself and the parking supervisor discussing it. And we've looked at it and we are a little lower than some other towns, so that is on the list of to-dos, is to, you know, look at our rates again and see if we should be upping them a little bit. Just for that, I'm sorry, just to clarify, for the electric vehicles, not parking in general, I don't want anybody to get the wrong idea.
Yeah. Cool. One other question was on NP 23-84, certification of the audit. I know you guys approved it, but did anyone, any discussion or anything you want to highlight as far as recommendations from the audit team? And is it available to the public?
So it is available now that it's been adopted by the council. It is available to the public. It's rather lengthy. The most notable thing is there's no comments, no negative comments, no recommendations at all. It's what's considered a totally clean audit.
On the flip side, so who's in charge of dog poop? Because I've been walking around town a lot in the last month. I have a lot of time on my hands right now. And there was a lot of dog poop parking lot between the cars parking facing the other building. And you want it to be, you know, a nice place to walk, but when you look down, it's kind of disgusting. And then I know like Ridge Street is kind of bad and I'm kind of used to it, but you know. I know if you did put up some of the, go down the welfare committee, they put up the receptacles, which is great. But, you know, to enjoy the sidewalks and walking around town, you know, it seems like it gets out of hand here and there.
I mean, there's nobody specifically in charge of it, but
Make a motion to put Darren in charge of the dog group.
thanks, Mayor.
Had the animal, the Henry, I forget his title, but we kind of monitor to some degree. I mean, it's not good for the environment to go on the ground, and it's beautiful. They're maintaining the parks and everything, and then you look down and you're like,
My point was it's shared. It's not one specific person like it was when we had a dedicated animal control officer. So yes, PCA does very limited patrol in town. If they happen to see something when they're in town, they will address it. Our police officers will address it when they see it. But as you can imagine, it's not their highest priority, and B, it's not like we catch somebody every 5 minutes doing that, you know. But it's occasional, but they will write a summons here and there for it.
I mean, maybe we just need to order some more stations because it's definitely cleaned up around East Side Park. So it works. We just got to make it as easy as we can for people to.
yeah, I mean,
Up after it goes.
that works there, and I know there's a few other receptacles that seems better, but, you know, there's kids walking on the street, there's people walking, and the town is beautiful, and then you look down in different places, and I'm like, people are just so lazy sometimes.
Yes, Steve.
Stephen Hecht. Stephen Hecht, 135 Branch Avenue. I have seen in several different places a report by the Office of Financial Services, the state office, that there are 9 communities that have been out of compliance with respect to the legislation, which requires a cap on sick leave and personal days at retirement only. And Red Bank is one of those 9, as we all know. And I wanted to ask, Mr. Mayor, I wanted to ask you and the council for some explanation. 1, what happened? 2, what kind of remediation is being offered or will be offered? And 3, when will that happen? And 4, will the monies paid out that are out of compliance with the state law be reimbursed by the people who receive the money.
Darren, I'll let,
We don't.
I'll take that seat. So I won't go on too long, but just to clarify a couple things, and you're right, based on what was released in the press, everything you said is correct. However, just for some background, the Office of the State Comptroller sampled 60 towns in the state, not all 556 or whatever there are, and found all 60 were not in full compliance according to their office. So the 9 that they released recently had deficiencies in their response to the state comptroller, but they didn't specify what those deficiencies were. They varied from some towns who just didn't respond to them at all in well over a year to some that had lesser degrees of what they consider non-compliance. We were one of those towns where we did provide a corrective action plan that was accepted by the state comptroller quite some time ago, I think May of last year, I believe it was. Our labor attorney assisted in drafting a CAP, what they're calling a CAP, a corrective action plan. It was accepted by the comptroller's office. As an oversight, we didn't have the council pass a resolution adopting that. We just didn't realize it was necessary. We now know, not because they reminded us, but because they did a press release telling everybody that we didn't do it. So we're going to do it at the next council meeting. I anticipate a resolution on accepting it. The second part that we were deficient in, it was that we did not have an independent third party do a review of our sick time payouts. That was recommended by the state comptroller's office. It was not required at the time. So we had that internal review done internally, not by our auditor. They have since said it was actually required, not recommended, although we have it in writing that it was in fact recommended. So in that case, in my opinion, the language is important. They recommended it, they didn't require it, but now they're requiring it. So in the last week, we've engaged our auditor to do the review again, which will cost us a little bit of money, but that's the way it is. So he'll have that review done hopefully by the end of this month, because that's when they want their response by. So I anticipate by next council meeting, hopefully having that internal review or that third party review now done, and also having the resolution passed by the council. As far as the payouts that you discussed, I'm fairly certain we have not made any payouts. Red Bank was actually, I don't want to get on a soapbox here, but Red Bank was actually ahead of this before the statute was passed, I believe, 2010. Our union contracts limited the sick time payouts, I believe, in the 90s at some time. They were changed to limit that. So we were long ahead of the legislation. We had already locally placed a cap on the sick time payouts. The only people, it didn't apply to anybody hired prior to whenever that was, in the late 90s or something like that. So there are still a few people that are entitled to the payouts, even by state statute, they're entitled because the statute grandfathered the people in that pre-existed the statute that were on the rolls before the statute. So we are fairly certain we did not make any improper payouts because anybody hired after 2010 would not have retired yet because they'd only have 13 years with the borough at this point, maximum. So they wouldn't really be eligible to retire. There would be very small possibilities of somebody that went out on a disability retirement or somebody who had a considerable amount of service in another jurisdiction and then came to Red Bank and had enough time in the pension to retire. But I can't recall anybody who was in that position who would have left. So we'll have the auditor review it again, but we're fairly certain there were no payouts made. If there were, the onus is on the borough to make a hearty attempt to recoup that money, which is what we would do if in fact we identified one.
I did see something else with regard to one of our collective bargaining agreements, which was in conflict with the state statute.
I believe what they're talking about is a
$20,000 rather than a $15,000.
Right, so that's the PBA contract, and that was when we passed the cap. And don't quote me on the year, but in the 90s, the town put a cap on it during contract negotiations. That cap was $20,000. The state law was not in effect at that time. They placed it at $15,000, so that was the number that the town and the union settled on, was $20,000. But anybody hired after the state statute was passed would be bound by the state statute. There would be that window of people who would be entitled to $20,000 if they were hired between 1990, whatever it was, and the time the state statute was passed. There, as I mentioned before, they would be grandfathered because that was their that was their contract when they were hired and didn't, the law hadn't become effective yet, the state law hadn't become effective yet. So essentially they're saying that $20,000 is contrary to the statute. I believe not, because it's only for those people who were hired before the statute, and the statute actually exempts those people. That makes sense.
The statute grandfathers them in.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
The statute grandfathers in those people hired prior
For the passage of the statute.
implementation.
Correct.
Okay, and my last question is, do you expect that the participation of the auditor is going to solve this problem in retrospect and also going forward?
Well, what the auditor is really auditing is whether or not there were any payments that were not in compliance with the statute and the contracts. So if there were, that would be identified, and then we would have to take action from there.
Who then going forward, or what department going forward is responsible for making sure that these kinds of inequities don't occur again?
That would be the manager's job, and has been. This is every time somebody retires, whether it's me in the last 2 years or my predecessors, reviewed everybody's bank time and with the payroll supervisor and determined what their proper payout was supposed to be.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Pucko in the back.
Mayor and Council, I'm here tonight on behalf of a group that has just started from Cedar Cross. On October 8th of this month, at the NAACP meeting that's regularly held every second month. Every second Sunday of the month at Calvary Baptist Church, a group of residents of Cedar Cross that brought it to light some of the issues that are going on in that community. A charter was drawn up, and there's a group form. The president is Magdalena Fotakis. Would you kindly stand up? Let's see. So she's the president of the president of the steering group. The New Jersey law on condominiums basically says that each condominium has to have an association that meets regularly to deal with the issues that the condominium has. Now, for the past 2 years, there's been some kind of litigation going on with some residents. There's one resident, for instance, that has been trying to sell her house. It's been listed for about 2 years, and there are some irregularities going on, and she's also put up a complaint that we're looking at. So home ownership, you have the right of alienation of your freehold estate. And while that's not happening, basically it comes kind of brings an issue that we need to address. So having said that, that group is a steering group, and the charter has a sunset clause whereby if everything gets in compliance and Cedar Crossing Association is able to manage itself the way that the law says and be in full compliance, then the steering group will dissolve. So at this point, the membership to that group is open to anybody that wants to see Cedar Crossing flourishing. Only folks that will be able to vote on any issues will be the actual residents that live there. So at this time, I'd like for all those Cedar Crossing members to please stand up so that you're here. And they've given authority to the NAACP to intervene and help them bring this thing together. Because these are first time home, as you can see, first time homeowners probably came from rentals and didn't realize that they have an obligation, to, what you call it, manage themselves. In the supreme law of the land is the Constitution, and then you have the federal law, state laws, municipal laws, and you come down to the issue of owners association. So at our presentation at the NAACP, that was very well explained, and they're very, very enthusiastic about getting involved, and maybe in the future, some of them might end up on council. The secretary of your group is Alicia. Alicia, if you could kindly stand up. So all correspondence or anything that involves making this work is probably handled. And at this time, if I may approach, I'd like to hand you a copy of the charter that they voted on for the residency. And that ends my presentation. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. And let me know how we can help. Okay. Barbara, I saw your hand had gone up.
Barbara Boas, 135 Branch Avenue, Red Bank. I'm going to be shameless and make an announcement. The Red Bank Borough Education Foundation is sponsoring its second annual trivia night next Wednesday night at Triumph Brewery at 7 o'clock. Teams of 4 or 5, and you can win some really remarkably awful prizes. And I invite all of you and anyone in the audience to check our website, buy the tickets, and join us. All the funds that we make go to help support the STEAM projects at the middle school and the primary school. And it's a good cause. We work hard and we make a lot of money and we've done a lot of good things. Actually, we just bought, this is for the nerds in the group. We just bought a book vending machine for the middle school.
Nice.
Okay, instead of Coca-Cola, you can get a book out of it, an actual book that you can hold in your hands and read. So help us out, join us. It's a lot of fun. And you don't even have to be smart. You really don't. You just have to laugh and enjoy yourself, and no handheld devices allowed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Burnham, 71 Wall Street. At the last meeting, Mr. Forrest, Councilman Forrest, you said that you thought it was a bad idea for the senior center property to go on the Rossi. Wait, let me finish. I just want to give you a rundown on all the parks, all the open spaces that are on the recreation and open space inventory list, where these are just protected. Okay, and most of these that I'm telling you are funded by Green Acres, so it makes it even more restrictive. Okay, these are the funded parks: Count Basie, Mohawk Pond, Eastside Park, Locust Avenue or Bellhaven, Marine Park, Johnny Jazz Park, Riverside Gardens, Veterans Park, no, that isn't funded, I'm sorry. Dr. James Parker Boulevard and Sunset Avenue. Sunset Avenue Terminus. The ones that are not funded, but are on the Rossi is the Veterans Park, which is the Memorial Park with the memorial in the middle of the highway. You guys know where that is? And Maple Cove. So why did you say that you thought it was a bad idea to go on the Rossi?
May I respond, Mr. Mayor? So glad you came to ask me that, actually. So I'm aware of those properties being on there. Well, I noticed that when I go to actually the senior center every Wednesday, and I notice the parking lot's full. And so, in fact, a lot of times the seniors have to park on Shrewsbury Avenue, which we've heard testimony right here in this meeting can be very dicey, and it is in fact very dicey. I've never gotten what I would consider an authoritative explanation of what it would mean for that property to be basically designated as a state park. I know I'm oversimplifying this a little bit. I mean, originally the first proposal was just the property and then it was divided in two. I actually was at the council meetings asking questions at that time of the previous council. And, like I don't want, for example, us having to allow, say, kayak access there. And there's a very nice county park right across the way. So if you want to take a kayak, you should just take it over there. I want it to be our senior center. I want it to be focused on being our senior center. I don't want it to be a state park. And I never really, all those places you mentioned are like basically kind of parks.
The parks and open space.
I want the senior center's mission to be the Red Bank Senior Center. And I'm okay with a few other things added in there, but we've just spent $2 million to do that. And I really wanted to be focused on that. Now, if you want to talk to me about maybe doing some other way of designating the property to protect it from any kind of development, great, you might be able to help me here. Isn't there some other, way you can designate a property, put a speed restriction on it? Right, that would probably be a lot easier and, I would be fine. But I actually asked the last council, I said, what is Rossi really going to mean? Does it mean we have to have special hours there? Allow the general public, if anybody wants to come anywhere from the state of New Jersey to use the facilities and the bathrooms in there. And I never really had a full response. So anyway, there's a little bit more detail as to why I'm thinking the way I'm thinking.
So when I don't get the answer.
And I'm just speaking for myself, of course. I don't know what the other council members say.
Well, when I don't get answers, I go to the horse's mouth, and I would have gotten in touch with Green Acres and talked to them about it because it's very easy to do that. But seniors don't go out in the back. They don't appreciate, or they don't want to, it's a steep slope. And when we created, the previous council saw the beauty and saw that, this is a place where residents could enjoy the swimming river, the eagles and the deer and, nature. And so that's why we cleaned it up. When I was on council, 13, 14, and 15, you couldn't even see the river. That's how overgrown the backyard was. And when we cleaned it up, we didn't cut down anything. We just worked with what we had, and it was all natural. And, the borough gave us the slates for the steps that are all to code. And we created those terraces. If you want to go down to the river, you can. But if you want to just come, if you're over there having coffee at Sickles, you can walk over there and sit on a bench and look out at the swimming river. Don't you think that's a nice thing to do for our residents? Don't you think that adds?
I actually have enjoyed that area.
Don't you think it should add to the quality of life?
I thought you were asking me a question. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but yes, I do enjoy what you did back there with your volunteers and people you paid, and you took me for a tour. But I really, it's a designated to be our senior center, and I really want it in that role for the time being. I mean, this is my opinion.
Maple Cove was designated as the borough property, and they let it just get overgrown, and then Hovnanian wanted to buy it, and we fought to save it and create something beautiful. And that's kind of what we did over here at the senior center. And it's at the far right, and it's if it was a public access.
And I do see our seniors and as well as myself, because I'm a senior now, I'm 60, and do enjoy that open area in the back. Although, as I said, I've only climbed down to the bottom a couple of times.
In Crocs?
No, I was wearing, I don't know, I think I was wearing sandals. Does that count?
Down there, okay, walk down there.
Let the record show that Councilman Forrest was wearing sandals.
No, they're Crocs.
Oh,
Crocs are different than.
I just want to make sure you're getting this.
What I would like to say is, we need to make it accessible to the public. Is what we need to do, that one side. And if you don't want to put it on the Green Acres open space, let's put it on a conservation list, your easement, and then just make that one side public so that the people can go down, sit on that little terrace and look out. That's what I would say. you know, you did run, I'm gonna remind you this again, you did run on more public access to the river and more open space, and like, here it is, it doesn't cost the taxpayers anything. It was done, you know, free, and the people should be able to enjoy it, and the people should know about it. But we know people on this council were against it going on the Rossi. And so I think I mean, you're the only one that said you didn't think it was a good idea. Councilwoman Janone, what do you think?
What's going here?
Are we?
Do we have anything else that you want to address?
Yeah.
And then we're not going to do a straw poll right now, or
Why not?
we have other people, I think, that want to speak.
No, I think
Yes.
we made it clear the last meeting that there was not.
Last meeting you lied, Kate, and you said you didn't know when I asked for updates. You sit up there and you go, oh, I don't know any updates. And you did. You had 8 emails. You had 8 emails from the DEP, just a second. The subject was senior center, Rossi, amendment, update. There were 8 emails with the importance of high, and you all said you never saw them.
Let me make it clear again. There's nobody on this council that believes the senior center should be placed on the Rossi.
Then why don't you divide it and just put the back on?
We will do what we believe is right for Red Bank, and the people up on the dais were elected to do that. We are welcome to take public input from the entire public. We are not here to,
Nobody knows about it because you keep it quiet. Red Bank Green here, he doesn't write about it.
we are all visiting the senior center weekly. We are involved in our town. We take the advice of our department head, who.
I thought we didn't have liaisons.
I said we take the advice of our department head, and I said there is no one on this council that believes that the senior center should be placed on the Rossi. Thank you for your input.
Nobody believes it.
Nobody believes that up here that the senior center should be placed on the Rossi.
You're speaking for the whole council.
We all agreed when Greg asked us during a public comment that you were present for, when he said to us, is this a priority of the council? Everybody went, no. So you have your answer on that, and we appreciate all of your passion that you put towards this. But we have communicated extremely clearly that no one up here believes that property should be placed on the Rossi.
How about just open to the public? How about public access?
It is the senior center.
Wasn't the senior center when you let it go for 3 years.
Thank you, Cindy.
Tried to sell it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have any comments? Yes, sir.
Havens, 111 River Street, west side.
Sorry, can you just state that into the microphone?
Chris Havens, 111 River Street, west side, quickly. There's some city-owned property, senior citizens, part of a much larger piece of land. It's all along the river there. It goes on from last year.
Can we turn on the micro? I can't
Yeah,
hear.
I think your mic's working.
And look at the mic.
The
There we go. Giddy up.
senior center piece is a small part of a large piece of land, but the town controls past the school all the way down the recycling. It's a large amount of local land. I would love in my lifetime if you could walk on a lot like that. And I think anything done to any land, especially a small piece at one end, needs to be part of a larger plan, has to be planned out, and has to be figured out what to do with all that property. And you can make a little change in one little piece of it that could get in the way in the future. That wonderful land of the town.
I actually just, a few weeks ago, asked Shauna to pull all the easements so we can see where we stand with that, because at the very least, I'd love to get a walking path going there. So she's pulling that information right now, and
Or whatever's best, but just, it's something that has to be planned. It's a lot of land there and it's just little things, the little pieces of it.
right, thank you. Anyone else?
Hey, Greg.
I think there's something else.
He's talking about little pieces of things, and here you just introduced an ordinance about abandoned vehicles, but you won't address when businesses are being run out of residential areas. You know,
Okay, thank you for your comments.
so can we start enforcing that? What would I do? What do I do when I see a business being, it starts off with just a guy and a mower, and then it turns into 5 ride-on mowers. Who do I go to? I know I can go to you because you don't know.
Right.
I go to him. He doesn't do, he does what she said.
Call the zoning.
Who do I go?
Zoning.
Go to zoning?
Yeah.
And then what?
I don't know, but that's where you start with zoning. No, how would I know? I don't know what you're gonna say. I mean, I have an idea what you're gonna say.
How do you stop it?
You said that we're gonna.
I just, yeah,
No,
we,
We stated earlier on the record that we are dealing with things, and that is actually one of the pieces of legislation that we're actually working on. This was actually discussed earlier, Cindy. You and I, we get along all right. That was actually said earlier that we just need a little more time. That's actually on it.
It's been off.
Why are we putting it off? Because we can't do everything at once. It's quite simply human nature. It's 24 hours in a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and I work for most of them. And I don't have a 366 and 367 day. That's the reason why.
All right. Well, Dave,
Yeah, I have, and I apologize.
Dave.
Missed 2 meetings. I did have an opportunity to honor.
Dave, you took the bait. Well done,
I
Cindy.
wasn't doing.
Well done.
I don't think like.
Kudos to you.
Totally honest.
All right.
No, there's.
Anyone else have any comments? Yes.
Hey, Dave, let me know if it's anything.
Try and get close to that mic, because it's not.
I'm doing the president of the steering committee, and this is my neighbor Linda, and I'm here to support anything she has to say and help along.
Linda Clark, 35 Cedar Crossing.
Can you speak louder?
Different residents that are here with us.
Can you speak loud?
Need the microphone.
I know it. There you go. Okay.
I would say, as far as I know, we had gotten up here, he exhibited the steering committee document. However, with some of the issues, one of the things that we had found out at our recent meeting was that the association, as far as the condominium, is in non-compliance with the state. And that was basically very alarming, and that's why you see a couple of other residents that are here, because some of them, not just now presently, but as far as even within the past, are interested in selling their homes. There's other issues, plenty, but at the same time, as far as with that being something where there's been miscommunication, there's been questions about funding, as far as even the finances. But 3 of the things that were brought up at the meeting was it's underinsured for the amount of units, mismanagement as a whole, and that there's issues with the budget. So you say, can you help? There's a lot of things that we really need help with. And as far as us trying to get the understanding of not only how the association with the bylaws and everything is supposed to be run. There's been a lot of, to me, it seems as if like a lot of interceding from the Red Bank Housing, especially when the meetings are actually as far as held. I believe there's been different people that have been in charge of Red Bank Housing, from now we see Ms. Richardson, before it was Mr. Snyder, has been passed on since we've been there. And at times it's been basically as far as left to do whatever. And I think it's fair for us to be able to sit there and say that we're going to be held accountable for certain things, where other things have been just left aside as if like, oh, okay, that's no big deal. We'll just bypass it because no one's really paying attention. And right now, I think is a time, especially within these trying times where you see COVID back on the rise, a lot of things financially, taxes are going up, that we basically, as far as for affordable housing, have tried to reach out. I know myself personally have tried to reach out to different agencies for assistance. Right here, I got one for you. But at the same time, I've even just known that there's a person who was actually in the process of closing on their house, and the day before they were able to close, were told that they can't sell because of the non-compliance issues. We're trying to find out what ways can we, as homeowners, be able to actually be more involved, not have it be something where our meetings are set up because Ms. Richardson is available or someone at housing is available, but more or less as far as the involvement for the Cedar Crossing residents to be a little bit more involved with that. So I don't know who might be able to help us, whether it's a personal meeting or coming to the next steering committee meeting that we do have set up, to be able to get a little bit more involved and pay more attention, because it's not going to go away.
Looking to our attorney right now.
Yeah, right.
When's somebody's going. When is the next steering committee?
It falls on a Sunday at the church, and it's on October 22nd at 12:15 in the afternoon. The Calvary Baptist Church.
October 22nd at 12:15?
Yes, sir, it's a Sunday. And the reason we have this is just to bring awareness. We need awareness because we can't sell our home. I can't sell my home if I want to. Not that I want to, I love Red Bank.
You can go.
But we cannot. So this was for awareness, and we truly appreciate this.
The other thing I was just gonna mention, because I know they have an upcoming meeting that we actually, as far as petition to the president of the association, to see if we can get it postponed, because I know they're trying to get back on board with getting things actually in compliance with passing not only the budget, but also as far as making sure we have officers. To give you an example, we had one person who basically, as far as with the president, she wound up moving, her children are in the home still, so they were able to still keep her home, but at the same time, she's no longer the president of the association, so they appointed someone to Mr. Snyder. Instead of having the residents know anything about it, where we were able to take part into this whole situation. We have a president right here, she might have wanted to run. They just were doing things on their own without our involvement, and just as well as far as we want to have in-person meetings. They have it on Zoom where a lot of people are not even available because of work hours or different situations, and we've asked them. We had probably about 17 people sign a petition just to see if we can get those things postponed. So right now they have a meeting scheduled, an in-person meeting for them to actually as far as proceed with the voting on October 17th that we've asked them to postpone. But a lot of it, as far as what I understand from the new president, Chris, he's not here with us today, but he was at the meeting for the steering committee.
Okay.
They don't understand a lot of the bylaws and everything, so they'll actually, as far as lean on Ms. Richardson or the lawyer that they actually hired for us, it's another $8,000 to be able to find out some of this stuff. So it's as if like when we look at the fact that they want to increase our association fees from 150 to 175, it's like, who are making these decisions for us? We have a lot of people that they're seeing in arrears, and then basically as far as issues where some people that are in arrears have been taken to court. Other people have been set up, but at the same time, some of the ledgers and some of the information that they're going by is not really proper. So it's like, something has to be done because it's a mess. And that's as simple as I can really put it. So if you can really join us, that would be great.
I'll join you. I will make the commitment. I'll be there on Sunday. It's Calvert 23 River Street.
Yes.
Okay.
The rear entrance.
So obviously, as you can imagine, I've dealt with this before. There's been condo associations that sometimes turn over a developer. I have experience in this arena. I will attempt to read your governing documents or obtain them from the recording office before I get there on Sunday. And then, I don't know exactly what the situation is. I also will say this disclaimer in public that I don't believe that I can be your lawyer, given my position here, but I can certainly come and listen and give you expertise and try to gather the information. And I suspect some others will probably join me on that Sunday. And we'll try to figure out what's going on and guide you in the best way or help you if the borough has the power to do that.
Gotcha, I appreciate that, just because as far as like when we didn't meet Mr. Paku, he had helped as far as two of us with our taxes to make sure that we didn't get the increase for the next 3 years.
I know Mr. Poku is very good at that. I see him in the tax board every year.
Yeah, so it's as if like, these are the things, even with the association, we're hoping that more people can become aware of. I know as far as even with Ms. Richardson, she helped get grant money for the public. I believe as far as even just looking at the landscaping and a couple other things for 300 some odd thousand. I'd rather see her on a more proactive basis of that instead of saying, as far as we're trying to take you to court, we're trying to actually do all this extra stuff instead of being more helpful, proactive and positive. That's all. Thank you.
Before you go, oh, sorry. Can you unmute your mic for a second?
Sorry.
Okay, hey, before you go, how is your steering committee different from the Cedar Crossing condo association?
Right now, we want actually as far as with the request for an in-person meeting, like to just to let you know, they had their Zoom meeting. I believe it may have been like as far as like last month. And it was more or less at the request, it might have been this month if I look at my notes, I don't know, hold your time up, but I would say the last meeting they had was like in March. So it jumped from March to us getting notices to say as far as we're gonna have a voting and we're gonna actually as far as see who's actually up on their fees to be able to say who's able to vote, who's in compliance, but it's as if like, well, where did all this come from? And right now you have three people. You have the president who's appointed, you have as far as even just looking at the vice president, I believe his name is Gary. Then you have another person, who's the secretary, and you also have as far as a fourth person whose name is Melissa, she may be the treasurer. There weren't all offices filled on that committee. So it's as if like, but they've been there since we were there, besides when Pastor Porter and them were involved. So they have been appointed for the past 10, 11 years. They are really volunteering their time, and I get that, but they don't understand the bylaws either. And until I got put in this position, I wasn't really paying attention myself. So it's as if like, oh, okay, we're all trying to learn together, but let's not sit there and say, Ms. Richardson is the person who should be making the decisions, and she's just gonna tell you, and that way, as far as you get a quick yes, because your name is gonna be signed to say as far as you said, okay.
Okay.
Those things, as far as even with the steering committee, are trying to like, we're here, they haven't even joined us. So as far as it's not a battle between, it's just like, let's all get on the same page because we all have to live it together.
It sounds like it's a lot.
It is a lot.
And I just want to say, we value you as residents. You know, any resident comes in front of us with any concern, like this serious, we value that. We're lucky that we have professionals employed by this borough, like Greg, who right in that moment goes, yeah, I can go there on that Sunday and be there, and gives a disclosure that he can't be your lawyer, but this is the culture that we want to create. This is the communication that we want to have. We appreciate your gracefulness in your comments. Sounds like an extremely frustrating situation, although we are not the body that directly oversees this, and there's all these other pieces to it. You know, we're the type of people, we want to help people, all of us, everybody up here. That's the thing that unites us. That's why we're here together. And Greg is really proficient, and you know, I'm like, thank you for volunteering your time. You know what I mean? Like, we just, you know, it's all love here. We want everybody in this room
To realize that we're on your side.
you know, we're with the community.
And we truly appreciate you coming. And we just want guidance to know what to do, because it's a neighborhood. And we are great neighbors with each other and we care. But to get back to the question you asked, the difference is we've asked for a budget. We pay $150 a month. To some people, it's not much, but to us it is, because it's housing, affordable housing. And we were grateful to the homeowners that Red Bank gave us that opportunity. I myself work in Red Bank. I work in medical office and dental office. So I work in Red Bank. I live in Red Bank. I'm proud. I've asked numerous times before I even became the president of this steering committee, where does our money go? Mail us a budget. How much do we owe each month? Who's delinquent? Who is not? There has not been a budget for 13 years I've lived there. Where does our money go? $150 times 32 units. We have landscape. We have not had our houses power washed. Filthy.
Right.
Our roofs need fixing. There's leaks. People have issues. We have to pay out of our pockets to fix stuff. That's all we ask. So when the committee or the board or whoever's in charge does not give us answers, we are steering to guide anyone here to help us. So we're a bridge to everything, so everything can be normal.
Yeah.
Now, if someone wants to sell their home, if you wanted to sell your home and someone said no, and you're paying a mortgage each month and you're on time, why can't you? Oh, because a lender says to me, we're underinsured. So let me give you a big example. If my house, knock on wood, burns on the inside, I have homeowners insurance. If it burns on the outside, I cannot build it. There's no insurance. We're underinsured. So the outside doesn't get billed, but the inside. This is the issue. We're underinsured. Where is that legal? I mean, is this legal? I'm paying a mortgage.
I don't know the answer to that question right now, but you gave me a very good insight into the issues that are having. That was one of my questions for you. That was one question. The other question I have is, if the association that has been formed or reformed or whatever state it's in at this moment, do they have an attorney? You mentioned an attorney. Is that what you meant by?
From what I understand, that they had some type of meeting where in the past there was a McGovern Legal Services, and that changed from McGovern to some other, I think it was Hill and Walk or something.
Okay, well, they're very experienced condo attorneys.
Yeah, but I think they are no longer the attorney, but
They're very expensive too.
yeah, but the attorney that they had, but we never voted on even on. So it was as if like, when did they even get joined? We even be able to sit there and say, if we're already having issues with certain people saying that they can't afford the 150, and you're saying people behind, who are making these decisions? They had an issue, I believe, as far as in the brush, just to give you one last example, I'm not gonna keep you here, but it was more or less like the bushes behind our homes. Someone just clearly cut them. And they were saying, oh, because we couldn't get to the air conditioning unit on 3 people's end, it was basically as far as a decision that they made with the Red Bank housing just to cut the bushes. It was as if like no one asked anybody else. It was just like, we just had to make this decision because it was an emergency. But yet there's lighting that's been out for years. For years. It's dark. If you ride through Cedar Crossing, we're getting lighting from the brownstones next door down by my end, which is closest to Catherine Street. So it was as if like, how was that not an emergency on a safety issue? I had a person sleeping right there behind, like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, just sleeping in the grass. So how did you guys decide which is the issues and what's not the issues? So that's why I say as far as this, I like the rule.
Thank you for bringing it to our attention.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any comments? Yes. Just gotta state your name and your address.
I'm Natalia, I'm 32 Cedar Crossing, just starting at school.
You gotta get really close to that mic.
So sorry, English is not my first language, so I'm
And just can you do your name and address one more time?
Nadia from 33 Cedar Crossing.
Natalia.
33.
Just reinforcing what Linda said, we have been having issues with the foundation in our house. We contacted the association. They sent some people, they said it was a pipe that bursted and they fixed it. And we kept like looking in our crawl space and water coming in, and we had all the rain in the past couple of weeks. And we contacted our home insurance, and they came in with a engineer a couple days ago. And the engineer said we have like foundation issues, and if after he writes his report, they're gonna, our home insurance is not going to cover that. It's like a foundation issue. I believe the contractors for our complex, they went bankrupt a couple years ago. So they are not gonna be liable for that, I don't think. Yes.
The builder, I think bankrupt, yeah, Mike Muller, 33 Cedar Crossing also. So yeah, that's more just information for everybody in Cedar Crossing. It's that the builder, it was affordable housing built with help from the state, but the builder is out of business, and I think they built it very cheaply because it's affordable housing. But
So yeah, that's
just kind of want to
that's our concern, since we're underinsured and our association is not really being hands-on. We are worried about, because we're planning on selling our home, but we can't sell with a foundation issue. And they're underinsured, and when we email or contact them, we don't have a response. So it was just like, it's not super new information, it was just to reinforce what Linda, like her concerns that she brought it up. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing with
us and for coming to a council meeting. Please come back.
Anyone else have any kind? Darren, anyone online?
No, sir.
No? All right, can I have a motion to close the public comments?
So moved.
I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right,
Need for executive session.
we already went out.
Yes, we have another one.
All right.
Motion to adjourn.
Have a motion to adjourn to executive session?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Take 5 minutes.
Okay, we're gonna take 5 minutes. We have to go into executive session. We're gonna ask you guys all to clear the room.
Action.
Thank you. And there will be no action taken after executive session, and this should be about 30 to 40 minutes. Ms. Viscomi? Before you leave?
Give me a